Okay, I sent, oh, the judge sent me an order. I already told you I sent the summons to the state district attorney here in Volusia County. The federal judge sent me an order to do the list of interested parties or corporate identifications. Forget the exact title, but anyone that might be like remotely interested in this case. So I did an 8-page document, and I skimped on it in the original submittal, or have to look through my papers to see what the formula was. So, oof, yeah, he said failure to submit it, and so I did the 8-page document, and sent that to the courthouse. Well, this video is not going to work, and it said on the bottom, this and certificate of service. I'm like, what? I don't know what that means. So I called the courthouse, and there's somebody there that will, answer your question as being a pro se filer, and I mean, which is nice because they don't just say, "Oh, I'm not an attorney." They said, "Are you filing pro se?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Well, that means that you just have to certify that you sent it to the defendant as well." I'm like, "Okay, good to know." I said, "Does that mean I sent it back to the serving agency, $100 a pop?" He said, "No, no, it just means that you certify that you mailed it to him." So I'm still using the priority mail. It's all to get tracking. You still have to go up to like $8.95 or something to use priority mail. So I sent it to the courthouse, and I sent it to the defendant. Um, and this Friday is their time limit for responding to the summons and the complaint, responding to the complaint. I think it might be better to say. Now, I suppose if it's in the mail by Friday, it counts. So maybe it would be Monday or Tuesday. And I'm curious about what's going to happen because, part of me thinks that their move might be not to respond. I have to go back into the website to see what that does. But I think that if they did that, it would just mean here, magistrate judge or district judge. The district judge indicated it was sending it to a magistrate judge, and I agreed to that. And I just was like, well, I better agree to. It was a directive. It wasn't an order. So I'm like, well, I better agree to what he wants to do, for obvious reasons, I suppose. But so yeah, so their move might be not to respond, which I think would mean that they just want the magistrate judge to do what they do, which would be a bit odd, I suppose, because you know maybe that won't be a thing. The the state would be essentially in that situation, kind of admitting that they were flummoxed over the matter, and were willing to take guidance from the federal judge. And so the other thing is, we'll make some long bloviated argument about how I I don't have the rights or some such thing to bring such a case, which you know which is essentially to throw dust in the air, to deflect, or that type of thing. To deflect, there's another word. Hold on. Misdirection. To create misdirection or deflect. So that's two. And then the third one is to just blah, 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 because of this law and that law and the other law. It's therefore legal. And that, to me, is the easiest thing to defeat. But I really think they'll all be easier to defeat. I mean, their play has to be, do not let this guy get into a courtroom with us. Because if that happens, in a way, it's all over. It's all over for them. And so, because you have to force them to stick their head out. And when they stick it out, it gets lopped off. But that's not on me. If they've let it go and let it go and let it go, one day somebody's going to come along and say, well, you went, you let it go too long. Now this is happening. So that kind of thing, It's like, why is this a hate crime? We torture babies because we love them, and this type of thing. It also question is why is it Catatonia? Call it cultivated autism in my writing, and then lately I'm just trying to tell them, you're in a trance. You're in a trance. And then I was thinking the other day, and it's Catatonia is probably also a good descriptive definition. So anyway, so why is it a hate crime? Well, if you people tell you over and over, you are messing up, and here's why, and now stop doing that. Now, when they persist in doing it, it moves it over into a hate crime, and it's been explained over and over and over and over and over. So, for the last 3,250 years, more or less, and so it's well into hate crime territory. And mesmerization, I also called it mesmerization, which is a quite natural phenomenon. In fact, we all seek it out, I think, all the time with our shopping and going to the movies and listening to music and reading books and the whole nine yards. But mesmerization is no defense in the law, because going to the movies and battering a child are not the same thing. So anyway, yeah, I also call it mesmerization. Or, reading scripture that's enjoyable. I mean, because it's kind of why nobody really sees the person in the scripture, because we're mesmerized and we're looking for something else. So, but that thing, right, so again, it's enjoyable, so it's natural to pursue. No law against going to the movies, no law against reading a book in the United States. no law against whatever else I said. Listening to music, no law against going to your fellowship club. Let's call it a club. I like that better. And it could be a Harry Potter club, and it's probably better to visualize what I'm talking about. Or a Star Trek club, because it's just enjoyable, and you get to, it's just enjoyable, and you get to meet people enjoy the same things you do, and but again, so there's no law against that. But if you go and you batter people, then there's a real clear law against that. And in my original complaint, I elucidate. It's aggravated child abuse, the state of Florida. I can go over that again. That's the other thing that the state might try and do, is just cause, well, again, I've already said deflection or misdirection, making the matter complicated. But it's not complicated. The original complaint, I can even see the judge or the defense or whatever objecting to me call it a mutilation. I said, wait a minute. The state uses that term when talking about female genital cutting, non-consensual. When you're 18, go for it. But right, and equal enforcement of the law. It's in constitutions, federal and state, and whatnot. So there's two clear violations. The state's failing to provision law enforcement services to newborn boys, and the loss to the boys is one trauma. And everybody says, oh, they don't remember it. Well, no, they don't remember what the trauma was. They're just traumatized. And you spend a lot of time trying to figure out what the trauma was. It was still one of my theories that it was purposeful to put the person up into their head, and from where they would better serve the group that traumatized them as a member of that group. And the people that fall out, the people that end up hating their religion, they just gaslight them and call them names, and faithless and all these types of things. So there's the trauma, and then there's also the loss of, functional body part. Does a lot. I won't get into that because there's tons of documentation. The foreskin actually protects the glands, and then of course it doesn't separate from the glands either. This is the thing, but the provinciality in the cultures, you have to retract the baby's foreskin and clean under it. I was like, which is really bad, because that ends up injuring the baby, and then the doctors and nurses will tell you this stuff, and then of course that baby ends up back at their office anyway, and the doctor says, well, he has to be circumcised now because he's got all these problems. Well, so you don't retract the foreskin. As a child, it's adhered to the glands, and so the separation occurs naturally, sometime between infancy and puberty, normally. And then if you turn 18 and it hasn't separated, and the home remedies haven't worked, or and you're certain, this is very tricky, because it doesn't come back after it's cut off. And the intact men who need circumcision as adults, I forget the number, but it's a really low, 1 in 100,000 or 1 in 160,000 or something. I have to find that statistic again. So cutting. Oh gosh, I'm not going to make a long video because it's full of the arguments you hear are just it's really bad, really poorly done.